Hey guys, back with Chess Sports Online. Want to make a video today. I'm in this shop. I don't have any of it set up yet. Some clamps on my table, that's about it. I don't have my shelves set up yet. I'm going to put shelves on the wall. Right now I'm having to rely on these rolling shelves. Rolling shelves for parts and stuff. I'm very disorganized right now, but actually I know where everything's at the moment. I've got parts laying everywhere, as you can see. As I make shelves, I'll get these set up. Anyways, what I want to talk about today is the frame boxes for the crossmember. That's the center section for crossmember, right there, 3 of them for a batch I'm making. But I changed the design of these frame boxes. Heck, I've changed the design several times, just little tweaks in here and there to make them easier to make, to make them cheaper to make, so I can bring the price down basically. Used to have a random piece in here, threaded piece. They were very expensive. But these weld-in nuts are a lot less expensive, and then all I have to do is get a square hole cut. Let me get one of those. Basically, they're just a square weld-in nut. They're made to be welded in. They're kind of curved on one side, flat on the bottom. So all I have to do is set the piece like that on a flat table, set that in there and tack it, and then weld it. What I'll do is I'll weld this side first, then I'll go inside there and weld it. Okay. This is the 57, no, this is the 48 to 52 and 53 to 56. So basically 48 to 56 frame box. Okay, now what differentiates that from the 57 to 60, 57 to 60 and 61 to 64, which are basically the same. And let me stop and get on that subject real quick. As far as the frame goes, what I'm dealing with is the height. Okay, inside. Now this is 4 inches. The 48 to 52 and the 53 to 56 are both 4 inches inside the frame. It's about 4 1/16, 4 1/8. But if you've got a 250, that brings the frame in just another 16th. So this is 4 inch. I think it might be just a hair under. Anyways. So as I said, 48 to 56, 48 to 52, 53 to 56 are all 4 inches. So those are basically the same. Now the frame on those, when it gets to right here, it starts coming down at an angle, okay? I cannot make this frame box come down at an angle because some people move the box forward to move the axles forward. So you're only going to be able to use one of these bottom holes unless you want to just put a bolt in there and put a washer on it. The top holes, you're going to be able to use just fine. And these side holes, now these are a little bit different than the 65 to 70 line. Let me grab one of those. Now this is the main plate to a 65 to 79 frame box. Actually, this holes right here are the same all the way to 96, but the 80 to 96 don't already have these holes in the frame. I just use those as a reference point on mine. Anyways, the distance from the center of this hole to the top of the actual frame is an 1.25 inches. So facing here is kind of long. So I was trying to use these holes here as on here. Let me go grab the old version of this. And it would be that right there, see these holes. Okay. As you can see, they line up. I was basing everything's got to be based off the top of the frame because that's where the upper control arms sit. So, and then I had these 2 holes, and that's just not enough. So I added these end holes to help with that. But I figured if I can get away from that, then I can make this a lot better. So what I did was I just put 3 holes spaced evenly, which means that the plate that goes on the end of these and the arm that goes up has to be different for the 48 all the way through 64, and then 65 to 79 are the same, and 80 to 96 are the same. This was originally designed on the 65 to 79 chassis. 65, 66, 67 to 72, and 73 to 79. All have those same 6 holes. That's where your spring pocket, your coil spring pocket, mounts to the outside of the F100 chassis, okay? And I use those 6 holes to match this plate here. And this plate here is the one that goes on the end of the top of this. So basically, you got this piece here that tabs into there, and this goes on here like that, as you guys know. Like that, okay? Control arm mounts there, plate goes on the end of there. Now, having all these holes this far apart, that just doesn't work with this because there's not enough. You figure you line all those holes up and then you put this down here, there's not much there to do with that. So I needed these uprights, this is called a riser, is what I call it anyway, to be taller, and I needed to change this plate, and I needed to change that plate for the 48 to 52 and the 53 to 56, and let's get into the 57 to 60 and 61, 64 later. But this is what I came up with. Now this is the plate, and this is the, without that tapered hole there, I don't have to stop under it. I can make these go all the way up. These are just a little taller, see, than the other version. Okay. Now remember, this also still has to clear the steering and everything, which it does. Okay, so 65 to 79, 65 to 79. Now this is the end plate that does the same job as this. This is the 65 to 79. This is 48 to 52, 53 to 56, even covers 57 to 60 and 61 to 64, because the only difference between 47 to 64 and the older, 57 to 64, the only difference is that this 48 to 52 and 53 to 56, this is 4, whereas the 57 to 60 and 61 to 64 are 4.5 tall instead of just 4. So basically, I took this same CAD drawing of this and I added a 1/2 inch to the bottom so that everything else fit. That way, all these parts could be used on the same thing, okay? So that's how I did that. The other thing I did was I cut the corners off of these. Welding inside of these, inside those corners, is a pain in the ass to do TIG welding, okay? So I cut the corners off. They don't need the corners for structure. They've got plenty of structure there. This lifted part right here, this sits against the inside of the frame, okay, in there. This doesn't touch the frame because you got a curve right there at the top of the frame and the bottom of the frame. And then I've got the 2 tubes in here. These are crush tubes, okay? So basically what you would do is put this inside the frame and you line up this as your axle center line. That's the axle center line for this crossmember, okay? Now you can put this right on the center line where you had the axle center line before in the 48 to 52 and 53 to 56, which there is a rubber snubber there. Let's go outside for a second. This is the piece of crap I bought just for the frame that's under it. The frame that's under it is a 48 to 52. It's been shortened right under the cab somewhere, but it is a 48 to 52 frame. And I needed it for mock-up, or at least I thought I did. I didn't realize that this section right here in the front is the same as the 53 to 56. So that snubber right there, that's right over the center of the axle, okay? So that's the axle center line. And that's the same, except, same as this 64 over here, except that 64, the frame is a 1/2 inch taller, and the 1/2 inch is added to the bottom, not the top. The top of the frame is straight on this truck. The top of the frame didn't curve up until the 65 model. It's my dog Ranger. Trying to see what the hell I'm doing out here. All right, so I had this design drawn in CAD, and I put one together and put it on my 65 chassis, even though the holes wouldn't fit. I wanted to see if the top would be the same, and it was. But then I decided, I had an epiphany, I guess, on building this with just 3 holes here instead of those. And I know that creates more parts that I have to keep in stock, but it's just something I had to do to make all this work easier than making a different mount that fit this and those. I don't know how the hell we could make that work. So basically, this and all the parts that go with it are trash. That means all those parts right there that I had laser cut are wasted. Okay, because it's now obsolete. Now I could make a crossmember with one of these on it and use them, but it'd be a one-off. Maybe I could make it for display or something, but I mean, if it's going to be different, why do that? Sorry, I had to go shut that compressor off. Anyways, so that's one of the things that happens around here. Get pieces like that and then I have to throw them in scrap. Okay. So let's get back to what we're doing here. Anyways, I wanted you guys to see the new version of the frame boxes. Basically what you do is put that in there inside the frame, line that up on your center line or move it forward, whichever you decide to do. And then you would drill through these 2 holes right here. Since these have the crush sleeve, clamp this thing in, drill through these 2 holes with a 1/2-inch drill, and then run a reamer through it. Then you can take this thing out, go and put it around on the outside with this against the outside of the frame, and you could drill through these other holes, and that'd be the easy way to line it up without a template or anything. You're using basically these 2 crush sleeves to line that up. Now, the hard part is going to be when this is inside the frame, you can't see these 2 holes. So you will have to do some measuring. You draw your center line on here, measure over, and measure from here in. Don't measure from here out, because this does not touch the front wall. This touches the inside of that frame. So you can measure from here in to that line, or measure from here in down. So same thing on the bottom. And these holes match what's on the 65 to 79 chassis. There's 2 holes on the 65 to 79. They're like this. On the top of the 65 to 79, there's a hole back here, and there's another hole like right in here somewhere, okay? But instead of using those 2 holes, I used from the center line out, that hole. You have to drill the other hole. That keeps this apart, plus it makes it to where I don't have to have 2 separate frame boxes, a right and a left. These can be exactly the same, you know, basically the holes are the same. So that carries over. And as I said, on the 57 to 60 and 61 to 64, the frame is the same on those trucks too. The front end, it's basically 4.5 here instead of 4. And all I did was, as I said, is I added a 1/2 inch to the bottom of these CAD drawings to make those. So it looks exactly like this one, except it's 1/2 inch taller. Okay, that makes it a lot easier to prototype it, because it doesn't even have to be tested. You just have to know the inside height. All the other holes are the same. Same thing with this piece. This piece can be used on it, on the 57 to 60 and 61 to 64. And keep this for the 65 to 79. Okay? So, after I tested these pieces right here, I went and ordered some more of the pieces for this. I already had some of the pieces here in stock, like those pieces there. And I even have a plate to go on the outside. Now, On the outside of the frame, there's a plate like this, but only on the ones that have the factory strut. Okay, because you got a plate here. It goes on top. Let me grab that. On the factory strut, there's a plate that goes like this on the top of this box. You got this box here. That goes there, like that. Then you got some tabs here to hold the control arms, and this goes on top, basically. And then the control arm mount goes around it. But when this is sitting on the frame, it also comes down to where it's got a tab in the front, okay? And the arm piece on the side looks like this, okay? That goes in there. And this sits against there, like that. It wraps around this front section here. You guys have seen these on the other videos, okay? So for the factory strut, you got this plate that goes in the front. Now, I had a cool looking plate. I changed the design where there's not 3 of these holes. There's only 2, only the top 2, because that's how far this drops down anyway. There's no need to go past it. But I would have this separate plate versus the other one. So I came up with a plate. This plate here has double holes. It's got both holes, both sets of holes. Okay. That way I only have to have one of these. So I'll use the, I don't know, 4 or 5 of these up that I've got, and I won't have to use it more after that. On 65 to 79. That's what I mean about redesigning. Anytime I'm coming with a better idea, I just go ahead and make the change because I know it's going to work. I don't even have to test it. I cut this hole out of this one and made this to make all this thing lighter. Same thing here. The reason this goes up here, the reason that drops down there, is because that strut comes right past here, up and down right here at an angle. So that clears that, and this sitting on the frame, that indentation there clears the same way. This is what I was talking about, those 2 holes before. These 2 holes right here on the top of the Ford frame, 65 to 79. On the other side, you would use these two holes. So why not just use the outside 2? Forget about these middle ones. Not have to have all these holes. Not have to put, what I would have to do, see, is I'd have to weld. For one side, I'd have to weld one there and another one there. And then the other side, I'd have to weld there and there. If I mess it up, then it's scrap metal. And that means there's 2 separate sides. When I can make them on the outside like this, then that means you got to drill 1 hole. But then these are the same. These boxes are the same. Makes them go faster for me, which means I don't have to, raise the price up to cover the extra time welding. Okay, so all the drawings that I've got, the 65 to 79, as you can see, cut the corners out of those 2. The new version of this box right here, the corners are cut out of that there. The corners are cut out of this on the new version. Those will just be put on as I go. The design basically won't change as far as visually. You won't be able to tell it really very much. These are inside the frame anyway. But I think they're all these pieces start looking cooler. And I haven't had any new pictures on the website in a while. If you look at all the crossmember parts on there now, they're ugly in comparison to what we do now. So just thought I'd share a video with you since I haven't done a video in a while. And just know that right now we are busy as we can be. But I'm building these control arms in batches. And this is what I brought over from the other shop. Just all this stuff that's already bent. And I just now got the bender. I just made that stand, the bottom of that stand this morning, to put this bender on, okay? I hadn't even been able to use the bender. And the bad thing about that is I've got all these bent, but these tubes here, the bottom tube right there, do not fit, or this tube right here, do not fit the version of the control arms that has the rear bushing, okay? Those have one bend and then another bend the opposite way. And I don't have any that was pre-bent, so I had to put this together to be able to do that. And I just hadn't had time to do this because I've been so busy. I only been working on this thing after work. But I got up early this morning, got up at 4 instead of 5, did all my paperwork early and came out here and did that. Now, it did take me a little bit of time all the way into work time. But I made it nice. I got caps on the ends. I don't have the right bolts for it right there, so it does bolt together. It bolts together here. I made it taller so I can be able to look down and make sure the tubes are level. I got to put some spacers under here, and I got to make a mount for this foot pedal, okay? It's got double springs on it now. The thing about this bender is, this thing is old. It's all worn out. All the holes, these holes are worn out. But it does a hell of a job. So, but I will be replacing this bender as soon as my house sells here in the next couple of weeks. I'll be looking for a CNC bender where I can make all these bends a lot faster and more precise. And we'll use this one here for prototyping. But I did have to get this up and running for now, and which I did today. The only thing I don't have is I lost the effing pin that goes in here. It's 7/8 diameter, and if you can see on this one, I made this strap because it kept elongating the hole in the original one. So I put these tubes on here, top and bottom. I made this brace, so this thing does not bend anything. As you can see, that's the gap there, it's worn out. The gap there, it's worn out. And I just put the hydraulic cylinder on it when it was at the other shop. At the other shop, I had it mounted to the floor with both, and it was bolted at an angle coming up like that. It's bolted close to the wall, but coming up out of the angle, so it wasn't in the way. But when I went to hydraulic, I just left it bolted to the floor because it wasn't in the way. But in this shop, there's no room to bolt it to the floor, so I had to put it on wheels, and which is what I did. Okay, so just know that I'm busting ass working on your stuff. Starting early now, I'm working late, and I'm about to make, as soon as I get all the uprights and stuff for these clean, risers for those cleaned up, I've got 5 more out in the cleaner machine, cleaning up 5 more tubes, and there's another one on the shelf up there. So making a batch of those, and then as soon as those are done, I got another batch ready to go in the machine right down there. And before the day is out, I got to go call the local steel place. I've never bought any steel over here, so I'm gonna have to see. I'm way out in the country, so I'm gonna have to see who's got some steel around here where I can buy some more of that tube, and I got to buy some more of the tube for the motor mounts. I've got some of those right there, and I've got some already cut, but you know, not enough for the next batch. So anyways, it's a long video. Sorry about that. I'll start making more videos that are, you know, around 9-10 minutes, so you don't get bored. Got any questions? Just put them in the comments. Hit the like button. Share it. Let's just get those likes up, and please ask some questions. Hopefully I cover everything where you don't have a lot of questions, but hey, I'm up for questions. Thanks. See you. Bye.